Okay, for today, we're going to be looking at graphing given standard form. Okay, so something very important we're going to learn today, how to graph. Notice for this case, the X and the Y are both on the left side of the equal sign. And I guess this is supposed to give me a line. So let's take a look. First of all, remember how yesterday we saw intercepts. Remember the x-intercept, the y-intercept. We saw those values. Now, one thing I'm going to say, for my x-intercept, we saw those yesterday. One thing we learned is that where do I cross the x-axis? But another thing that we learned is that the y value was equal to 0. And then for the y-intercept, one thing that we learned is it's going to give me the graph where I cross the y-axis, but we learned yesterday that x is equal to 0. When I'm solving for the x-intercept, y is equal to 0. When I'm solving for that y-intercept, x equals to 0. When I'm solving for intercept, when I'm solving for one of the intercept, x or y-intercept, the other letter is equal to 0. Okay, so let's take a look. Let me solve for the x-intercept. So looking at the equation, because y is equal to 0, let me copy my equation. Equation is basically this thing that has the equal sign. Let me copy that equation without the y term. Okay, I'm not going to write the y term because y is equal to 0, so it's gone, right? It's nothing. 5y is still 0. So let me write this as 4x is equal to 20. Notice how I copy that equation without the y term. So when I do the y-intercept, when I'm solving for y, let me copy that equation without the x. I'm solving for y, so let me write it without x. And then for the y-intercept, I'm just going to write 5y is equal to 20. Okay, so coming back to the x-intercept, I have the 4x equals 20. So 4 times x equals 20. To get x by itself, let me divide by 4. Again, those 4s don't just eliminate. They just simplify to 1, right? 4 divided by 4 is 1. So 1x is equal to 5. That gives me the point 5, 0. Because x equals 5 and y was 0. Remember, for the x-intercept, I said y is equal to 0. And then for the y-intercept, let me solve for y. Let me divide each of these by 5. So I get that y is equal to 4. So that gives me the point 0, 4. Okay, so let me graph this. Let me do this in blue. My first point is 5, 0. So I cross the x-axis at when x equals 5. Now my y-intercept is the point 0, 4. So I cross the y-axis at 4. And let me grab my ruler here. Let me stop sharing. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, it erased everything, but we had just had this that my x-intercept, like I said, it erased it, and my y-intercept, remember we just solved this, my x-intercept was the point 5, 0, and my y-intercept was the point 0, 4. And then I said, okay, let me plot these points, 5, 0, 0, 4. Let me grab a ruler. Okay, again, it stopped. Okay, I guess I'm not gonna grab my ruler, so this thing acts up. So I have my intercept as 5, 0, 0, 4. I'm just gonna draw a line that goes through those 2 points. Good thing on EDIA, let's just say that that line actually goes through the points. Let me do a better job. Okay, let's assume it does go through the points. Good thing on EDI, you'll be given 2 points. Just put the points where they're supposed to go, and boom, you see the line there. Now let's take a look at question number 26. The way I'm gonna solve this. Let me solve for my intercepts. Like I said, the first thing I'm gonna do is solve for my x-intercept. I know for the x-intercept, my y value is 0. And then I'm gonna solve for my y-intercept. And I know for my y-intercept, my x value is 0. So for my x-intercept, let me copy that equation. When I mean equation, let me copy this without the y term. I'm solving for x, so let me write it without the y term. So I have that 2x is equal to -2. Except I copy it without the y term. So 2x equals -2. Let me divide by 2. So x equals -1. That gives me the point -1, 0. As a matter of fact, that is this point. Now for my y-intercept, let me copy that equation without the x term. So I'm going to write a positive y equals -2. Except I copy that equation. When I mean equation, I'm talking about this thing up here without the x term. So it's just positive y equals -2. Well, I don't have to do much. I already have the y value. That gives me the point 0, -2, which is this point. All right, I know in EDI, again, you move the points where they need to go, and then you see a line there. In my case, I have to draw the line, and let's say it looks like that. Okay, pretty simple, right? Let me zoom out. That's what we did today.